Come into my house. Give me body. Don't let me wait. Come into my house. Give me body. Don't let me wait. Come into my house. Give me body. Don't let me wait. Come into my house. Look, that's an old Queen Latifah. A lot of y'all only know her as the Equalizer, and to a smaller number of folks, a lot of y'all know her from Living Single, but y'all wasn't outside when she had those first two albums. And she was rapping and clearing the fellas back in the day. Welcome to the RFU's Podcast Morning Show. What's today? May 22nd. I'm locked and loaded watching or following this Diddy trial because we've been talking about this, surviving Diddy. I think I was the first one to start that up before the documentary, before, 50 Cent said his stuff, before the documentary came to Hulu, even before I believe Trap Lore God or Trap Lore Boss was talking about it and the Diddy files and all that other stuff. Day 8 of Diddy's racketeering and human trafficking case was underway yesterday. We did the episode yesterday, the afternoon show, talking about day 7, day 6, and day 5, and I believe day 4. Yesterday was day 8. Yesterday was Wednesday. They called to the stand another former assistant to Diddy, right? I'm going to get into that later on, but I wanted to do some housekeeping items, right? So I'm the first to say I'm rooting for everybody black getting their coins, getting all the coins that they should get, right? So a while back, we talked about on the podcast about this woman. It wasn't that long ago. She got up on her live and she was talking about the discourse, Target rolling back their DEI. And this was after she got her line of products in Target. I was outside when she had the big blowout hair and she was talking to us in that sweet Southern auntie vibe and all that other stuff. And a lot of people were buying into the persona, buying into, the family stuff, the daughter and mother videos that she was doing. It wasn't until it went from TikTok to the seasonings and the books that things kind of changed for a lot of people. In that time, people were like, there's something about this that's just doesn't seem genuine. I was like, there's no way that somebody's this positive, this happy, and just this sweet all the time. In this economy, in this climate, definitely when we were already tired of going to work, you want to cut some off like all the time. And it was low-key kind of annoying, right? So when she was able to successfully spin off from all her engagement and her videos and stuff on TikTok to actually like a book and seasonings and all this other stuff, I was like, okay, we love to see it. We love to see it. Unfortunately, though, as a consumer, for all of our lives, we have bought into and we've contributed to everything in a lot of these retail stores. Target, Home Goods, Home Depot, Lowe's, And we've also, a lot of us have put our feet to the concrete and exercised our First Amendment rights, our Second Amendment rights, the right to protest, the right to free speech, to be about change when it comes to Black lives. And just wanting equal, just wanting to be treated equally, wanting to be taken care of the same way that the white counterparts are. We've paid taxes. A lot of society and the government and politicians have benefited from us. So when it got to a point to where the same retailers were who take our money, we influence the stocks because we love the down pillows, we love the shirts, we love the Mother's Day cards, we love the body wash. Like, we're in Target and Walmart a lot. A lot of us are Target bougie. Had it not got to a point that it was announced that they were rolling back the DEI initiatives after filling their shelves with products with Black content creators' faces on it, we probably wouldn't have gotten to this point when it came to Tabatha Brown, right? So after it was clear that her stuff was in Target, and we even talked about old boy um, Mr. Crooks being in women business, having his videos and his 2 cents from any parking lot, from a Red Roof Inn to a Motel 6, and once again piping into, again, women business, not just being a low key hater, but also acting like some kind of Susie Orman type business kind of person. It was like, here we go again, black on black crime at first. Like, if Hayden from outside the club was a person, and we talked about all that, and it was just like, damn, you can't even get one foot in the door. And here you are chiming in on a woman, just claiming that you got this insight about overhead and all this other stuff. We let that ride. We had our 2 cents on the podcast about that. And then, you know, she came out and said something after the DI stuff rollback was announced from Target. And I was just like, something about this is kind of given. She didn't flat out come out and say, if you have a problem with this, then don't buy here, or she was just doing her Tabatha Brown thing. But we already knew, like, you are coming out with a statement nobody asked for in your roundabout way, trying to get us to not give up or continue to support or whatever. Now, when I came across this photo today, I was like, and it's always with love. This is why she wanted y'all to keep going to Target in her Tabatha Brown way. At the end of the day, the choice is yours. I haven't stepped into a Target. Damn, when was the last time I was at Target? It's been at least 6 months to a year. Like, there's so many other things, and whether you want to believe it or not, it kind of brings back memories of when people will be like, don't shop here at these places or get gas from these places for this day. Put your money where your mouth is. And it's like, how many of us are actually doing the research into what businesses to not support or which umbrella the businesses fall under? Because a lot of, like, soda brands and clothing brands and even probably like oil and gas, are under the same company. And I don't think not going to this place one particular day is going to hurt their bottom line anyway. You have aunties, uncles older than me still going down to the Target, getting, the cute baby clothes and all this other stuff. Is ultimately up to other people's prerogative. It's not going to change one way or another, but this is business. Nothing personal to me. Um, y'all are going to continue to buy these seasonings and buy these books and buy into the brand because it's the pro-black thing. But at the end of the day, it's still backed by people that don't look like us, right? Still backed by people that don't look like us. As much as you want to believe that not going one particular day or not buying these particular products, there's a greater number of people out there that still will buy the products. So, is it the case of a half, how's the saying go? Like a dozen, half a dozen, six in the other, or something like that. Like, question for the audience, like, how do you go about it? Because I know a lot of y'all, just like me, like, having come from the bottom, have had the off-brand experience, and it does definitely make a difference. The moment you get a taste of something named brand, right? Are you going to go back? Are you going to go back to supporting off-brand stuff? And I'll always support like private businesses or family-owned local businesses versus franchises. Like you start to notice that at this big age, the moment you step into a franchise place and you're sitting there, you're not even two-thirds of the way done with your meal and they're already bringing the check to you. It's like clockwork. And it's like, damn, it's not even personable anymore. And what the experience you get at like an IHOP or something is not an experience that you'll get at a diner. Some diners. And the food is busting. Went to IHOP recently. They don't even, you can tell, you can tell when indulge me a little bit, you can tell the quality and difference in a pancake when a person is not black that does it versus a black person that does it. That pancake I had was very, very beige. But this is definitely, you're not hurting our pockets, Tabatha Brown. You're not hurting our pockets. It's clear that people are still going to Target, and the way things are these days, people are going to hop and bop around on trends of what's popular, and then check off the box on their little to-do list, and then tell their congregation on social media, "I did this for the day. I did my part. Now what's next?" So what for those of you that are like, oh, they rolling back DEI, um, what do you do from here for the audience? I'm asking. Okay, so moving on. So yesterday they had day 8 of the Diddy trial. And the big day, yesterday, the big thing was here's another former assistant who's been subpoenaed to take the stand. Government called George Kaplan who was a former assistant to Diddy. So the moment this guy took the stand, it's a continuance of the the threatening behavior, the threatening energy that Diddy brings to his employee into certain spaces, but also it continues the narrative that may very well continue to play into the racketeering charges. Keep in mind, again, this is racketeering and human trafficking trial. And racketeering, they are going to explore, entertain, and pull in anybody that is part of this alleged network. And you got to keep in mind that it is a crime to use money to implore or influence employees that have a certain role of responsibility into this network that would involve drugs, intimidation, coercion, um, the commission of environments that do harm to other folks. We were fresh off the YSL. A lot of y'all just didn't understand what a RICO was, what racketeering is. It's a financial network. And in the day 7 video we did yesterday, we talked about his another former assistant that took the stand was employed by Diddy for about roughly 2 or 3 years. During his testimony, unregistered guns, the Suge Knight situation, um, the the uh, the hooking up employees to the lie detector test. Like, sir, this is not New Jack City. Like, those of us that have been outside for a while have seen this man try to get into some kind of character off of some movie, play up into this whole villain thing for the camera. And it's like, you got that going on top of, the slippery, shady business dealings where you maintain the upper hand while your employees get like shekels and stuff like that. And he's been able to play both. Like, do that on the side, be a little generous with the women's financially, kind of buy people out, um, keep a double image. And we've talked about that before. But yesterday, Kaplan went into this whole regularly threatened to fire him, claiming he only wanted the best employees around, sometimes in a motivational tone, which we've all heard. If you've been listening to certain rap albums, you've seen them on certain shows. Making the band brings the first thing to my mind. Can be a very demanding person. Those water signs, let me tell you. Unpacking a lot of what was already brought up yesterday by the other assistant, former assistant, before the freak offs popped off. Mention of drugs, definitely mention of baby oil, toiletries, of course. Cleaning hotel rooms so that photos, because it's not uncommon for housekeeping staff or hotel staff personnel, especially when they've heard the celebrities been staying there or they had a house and they had to go through there. taking photos. Like it wasn't that long ago, somebody took, remember that photo of, they said it was allegedly Whitney and Bobby's bathroom after one of their multi-day situations. Somebody took a photo of the bathroom, that circulated, made it to an album cover, so on and so forth. Like that part of the testimony yesterday um, could be argued away because the main counter argument, for a lot of the personal details being discussed is you could say that, for example, if a person, whether it was Cassie or a former assistant, testifies that he wanted this to be cleaned up, he had bodyguards, that he gave money to take things or make sure something didn't get out, could be argued for image purposes. But Kaplan yesterday said the rooms often were littered with liquor bottles and baby oil, and on occasion he found white powder near a sink. Packing Combs' medicine bag, a lengthy challenge as various pills, Advil, Tylenol, and ketamine always need to be included. Kaplan once recalled accepting a delivery MDMA in Miami. Now we're getting to, I feel like we're on the heels of this alleged drug mule. We talked about that on the podcast too. Alleged white boy. Well, he's not a alleged white boy. He is a white boy. Said he alleged. I'll say he was alleged drug mule of Combs. This is getting juicy. But going over this, I had to think like we're really tapping into this whole networking thing. You got to understand that, like, when you hire people to work for you, there is a set of responsibilities that they were hired for. Where in the history of labor and legislation that you've heard that an assistant is handling and receiving illegal contraband and setting up and cleaning up your hotel room for these alleged freak-offs? Where in the history of labor and legislation, the LLR, have you heard of a dancer being hired and commissioned to lay with your lady and you watching the corner? Like, y'all don't get how that's a problem? Like, the shit for, oh, it's, he's really on trial for, his freaky lifestyle. That ship left literally almost a week ago. Shit, pretty much day one, if we being honest. Because there's a whole other dark thing that y'all are not discussing. You are not entitled to fool our lie and operate the way that you do, because some of that shit's illegal. And, I know people out here have their opinions and everything, but goddamn, God forbid you have another relationship with that line of thinking. Like there is a distinction and there's a lot of nuance here that y'all are not discussing. You looping in employees to take part in your dirty work. You are intentionally paying cash for a lot of this stuff and saying things around that, around your employees, which leads a lot of people to believe that you're using record label money that's for your record label, you know, your artists, recording, marketing, promotion, to pay for rooms, travel, and your employees to do or take part in your personal matters, including freak offs. That's giving racketeering. That's giving RICO. So day 8, like I said, was yesterday. Today is the day that they will call Kid Cudi. He's expected to come today. So far, a total of 5 witnesses will be called today. Um, they will continue the questioning of Mr. Kaplan, who is a different former personal assistant. I think this is the second or third former assistant that they've called to the stand. It is really fleshing out to be a doozy. Like, and I really want a lot of people to educate themselves and become informed. You know, this guy faces 5 criminal counts: count of racketeering conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Of course, he's denied the allegations. When Kid Cudi comes to the stand, he'll be expected to testify about his relationship with Cassie. Of course, he'll be cross-examined like everybody else. At this point, you know, we've explored the psychological aspect. You know, a lot of y'all in the comments have somehow managed to come across like you're befuddled as to why why this woman, Cassie Ventura, would stay. And y'all have held on to this belief when it comes to women and to a lesser degree men that are being abused. Because please believe, we are light years beyond this archaic belief that only women can be abused, that, you know, men should just take it. No, no person should be abused, right? But when it comes to women particularly, and I'm looking at you, Ashley, like motherfuckers, I'm talking to y'all. Y'all just can't seem to wrap your brains around a woman if she's saying that she's not being abused, and if she's saying in these text messages that she's okay, that she's looking forward to another freak off, then how is she a victim? Listen, I said pretty early on that while it is possible for her to go along with a majority of the freak offs, I guarantee you that there were just as many times where she was not okay. And you got to keep in mind, she is under the influence of drugs. Um, as is the case with probably a lot of the party goers, um, when you have a person that is physically violent and physically abusive with you from the gate, you are conditioned to not piss them off. And in a roundabout way, you are forced into compliance. And you got to keep in mind, she was 17, 18, 19 years of age, and he was twice her age. And she was with somebody else at that time. And you got to keep in mind, like, it's it's the same script, different cast. Shout out to Whitney and Deborah Cox. He did the same thing with Kim Porter and Albie Shore. And Albie Shore has mentioned this in that Hulu documentary about Diddy, the same documentary that Sarah Stokes is in. Y'all should check that out, by the way. Similar thing back in the early 90s when Albie Shore was in the studio, probably working on a few Jodeci records. He said he was in there with Kim Porter, and Diddy either walked in or poked his head in, and as time went on, he was paying particular, close attention to Kim Porter. Um, Now, of course, he knew then that she was with Albie Shore. And when it comes to people like, Diddy, the dots don't really connect until later on. And as you have seen, like, he has an MO. There's like a sense of entitlement with people when they know you're with somebody and you can see the gears turn that they're trying to get with that person. Next thing you know, there are problems in relationship. There's this and that, and then he has you, he's essentially doing the same thing to you. What they were on and off for how long? While he was with Misa, then J Lo in the cameras. That's the other thing. That's the other thing they explored last week is he has an MO and same script, different cast. Like you have regular girls that you're seeing, one of which wants to take the relationship public, while you are publicly with Kim or publicly with Cassie, and then you have overlap between those two. And when Cassie was on the stand, we got to get some insight to that. But it's there's a lot of layers here, and there's a lot about this guy that is very, very wild. And when you add the power aspect and you add the career aspect and how he throws his weight around with his staff and his employees, that all plays into the psychological aspect that makes Cassie look like the victim, that makes Don McCarty look like the victim, that makes Aubrey O'Day look like the victim. Like there are some dudes and there are some women out here that just blur the lines. And then you add drugs to it. Like there's no telling what all that he said behind closed doors while he was with Cassie. But trust you me, as time goes on, the rest of this week and the coming weeks, you're going to get more insight as to the Diddy experience. Personally, professionally, like it's not that hard to fathom. Abused women coming back, especially after you out here blowing people's cars up. They called a psychologist earlier this week to the same expert opinion on abusive relationships, saying victims of domestic violence can feel trapped by physical, psychological, and financial control. One thing about the comment section is y'all were telling yourselves every single time. Like you can tell the kind of person y'all are when y'all act so like in the dark about it. Or y'all even like start to victim blame or continue to victim blame or go up for this man after all the stuff that's been exposed, and y'all will hold true to that. Very, very clear that y'all do not like women. Y'all got mothers, aunts, grandmothers, sisters, daughters, cousins. Hard head makes for a soft behind, I guess. So day 8 was yesterday. And I don't know. I don't get how y'all can still hang on to this being pro Diddy or pro any man that does this kind of stuff. But here we are, Mr. Fox Fuse podcast. Thank you for coming to the morning show. Hit that follow and subscribe button and continue to listen to the Fuse podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Usual Suspects podcast and, the IRP After Dark podcast, if you feel so inclined. Um, we will be around and we will stay clocked in to this because, it's only right. They're not letting us in the courtroom. Can't watch this sucker live, but we getting our intel to the minute. I'm definitely looking forward to Kid Cudi's testimony. Um, how deep was it? How long did it go on for? And was it on and off? I mean, I would surmise it was off after, the truck got blown up. But it will definitely, I know it's definitely key to this intimidation coercion aspect. Um, and all this weirdness coming from this dude. But I really want, the trash men out here to like unpack the bullshit and decondition yourselves from the spirit likeness you guys have with this man, this attachment you have to this kind of bullshit.